Hey, welcome to the Maybe You're Like Me podcast with me, Mike Burns. Listen, I know we're all more alike than we care to think. We've all got dreams, we've all got hopes, but sometimes we can feel a little alone trying to navigate in this crazy world we live in. So, this podcast is all about you, and it's all about me and how maybe we're a little more alike than we care to think. Welcome to Maybe You're Like Me. On today's episode, we have Lance Herring. Now, I call a lot of people rock stars if I think they're cool, but Lance literally is a rock star. He plays electric guitar, lead guitar for some amazing musicians, and he's just like an all-around cool guy. You're going to like this conversation. We talk about creativity and how nobody's got it figured out. So let's join Lance. Lance, thank you so much for joining us. Actually, thank you so much for joining us again. If you didn't know, we recorded this episode about a week ago, and because of technology and the internet, and I'm going to go ahead and blame hackers. What do you think about that? You feel good about blaming the hackers? We weren't able.
Yeah, probably Russia.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll blame. Yeah. They're the bad guys right now. So, something happened in the internet and we didn't have any of Lance's audio, but Lance, thank you so much for being here and being our very first return guest here on Maybe You're Like Me. How's it going, man?
Oh, well, yeah. You're very welcome. Honestly, I feel like you probably could have just released the podcast as it was without my audio, and it probably would have been your bestseller.
It was a lot of blank spaces. What's that one classical recorded thing or classical song that is just like 30 minutes of silence?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's John Cage. It's like called 243 or something. It's just it just is the silence. Yeah.
So that's what that episode would have been. But you know, it could have been like a cool, like contemplative, meditative podcast to listen to. Just listen to yourself. Listen to the inside of yourself. Oh man. All right. So Lance, you know how this goes. We've done this before. You're an old pro. You are the first return guest.
Seasoned
so for everybody who doesn't know you, like I know you, I've known you for probably 15, 16 years now, but at the same time, we haven't really talked to each other, until very recently, but like 6 years ago, we haven't, or 5 or 6 years ago, we hadn't talked. And so for people like me who just see you on the internet, or maybe people who they haven't met you yet or seen you anywhere yet, who is Lance Herring? Give me the rundown. Who are you, man?
Oh man, that's a heavy question.
Let's not get super philosophical yet.
Oh, okay. All right. I am a creator. I am a professional musician here in Nashville, Tennessee, music director, band leader, guitar player. Music is my passion, but I always thought to myself, what if, God forbid, I, lost my hands or something and couldn't, quote unquote, play music anymore? Would I lose my identity as a musician? And I realized that as long as I'm creating something, whether that's, I got into woodworking or painting, or even business can be really creative, entrepreneurship. I think I am a creator. What people see on the internet mostly is musician and dog lover, and recently got into triathlon. So there's a little bit of that. Actually just came from the pool. I smell like chlorine. That's why I was a little bit late, but I'm
really thankful this is a Zoom call. Thank you, internet, for that. And since the last time that we were together, you got married. That's a pretty big deal.
I did. I got married to my wife, Jessica, in the middle of the pandemic. I don't know if you're aware, we were just in, or are still currently in, a pandemic. Depends on who you talk to. And right at the height, we planned our wedding, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, we weren't allowed to move our wedding from our specific venue without paying an ungodly amount of money. And so we're like, you know what, let's just have the wedding. And we had a small wedding, and we've been married, and it's awesome, man. I love being married. It's been great.
That's awesome. Any kids, you want to break any news? Are you guys pregnant or anything you want to tell us here on Maybe You're Like Me podcast?
We have one 4-legged furry kid. His name is Erwin. He is an Australian. Okay. That's about as kid as we're getting right now. We do want to have a kid. Okay. But not anytime soon.
That's okay. Hey, live your life. You're out there rocking and rolling. So a kid might get in the way a little bit. So man, I'm so happy you're doing this again. Thank you so much for doing it. So listen, here at the Maybe You're Like Me podcast, again, it's all about trying to get past what you would see on the internet. So get past the Instagram filters and the face tuning. And I'm so happy that we're getting to do this over the internet right now. And thank you again for being here. So we're going to go straight into it. We're going to go into the first date round. Now, I told Lance this before we started recording, but I actually went through and changed a lot of the questions so that he wasn't having to answer the same questions over and over again. So Lance, are you ready for, this is the first date round. This is the get to know you round. You ready?
I kind of wish you were just going to ask the same questions because I wasn't nervous. Now I'm nervous. You got new questions. You sprung them on me.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is your desert island dessert? Yeah, not desert island. What is your deserted island?
Desert
that's
island.
A tough one to say.
Desert island desert. No, my my desert island dessert is it's a nostalgic dessert, and it probably doesn't taste the way I taste it in my mind, if that makes sense. It's from my childhood. My parents used to take me to this hole in the wall Cuban restaurant in Ocala, Florida.
Okay.
And it was a tres leche cake, which is this, you know, if you don't speak Spanish, that's 3 milk. So it's this layered cake with a bunch of different milks. They're like pre-made, stored, but they store them in the back of the fridge. And so they get to the point where it's just cold enough to not freeze, but it's almost crunchy. And I'm sure it was by accident, but it is my favorite thing because it's super, super cold, just a little bit crunchy, and it tastes super, super sweet. And yeah, so that specific tres leche from the Cuban restaurant in Ocala, Florida is my desert island dessert.
Excellent work. Just to throw this in there too. So would that be your, if you were on death row, your death row dessert too?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. That or, oh man, crap. So there's these chocolates. I can't remember what they're called, but you can only get them at Costco. They come in like a big tube. If the internet can do me a solid and figure out what those are called, I think that would be my death row dessert. Cause there's a lot of them and you could postpone it. You know, you could just keep eating them. They're small enough so you could just take, you know, they might never be able to zap me because I just keep eating it. Do they zap people anymore? I don't think they do. Anyway, next question.
I don't know. I've heard that the thing to do if you ever put on death row and you get your final meal is to get Chili's endless bottom chips and queso. And you just keep going and going until
that's perfect.
Honestly, the chips and queso might kill you first, honestly, but totally worth it.
Or Olive Garden endless breadsticks.
Oh man, I could go for some Olive Garden breadsticks. Those are fantastic. Whew. All right.
Yeah, same.
All right, this is a new one. You ready for this? If you could arm wrestle any celebrity, what celebrity you're arm wrestling?
Okay, so this has less to do with the arm wrestling and more to do with I would love to have an experience with this person.
Sure.
And arm wrestling is a weird experience. We could bond over it.
Absolutely.
But I like I said, I'm a touring musician. I've met lots of famous artists and famous people in general. Sure. But they're just people. Famous people are just people, you know, and I don't ever get weird around them. I don't ever get starstruck. But one time, Tom Hanks was backstage at a concert.
Oh, that's insane.
And I froze. I absolutely just that's like America's Dad was just right there.
Yeah,
but so many people were coming up to him and, you know, trying to get pictures. And his wife, Rita Wilson, is a country artist. And so he was there supporting her. Super sweet. Obviously, he's America's Dad. He's got to be sweet. And everybody was coming up to him and taking pictures and getting autographs. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy. So long story short, I would love to arm wrestle Tom Hanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then we could have a nice conversation.
Okay.
And then I could take my picture. And honestly, he'd probably beat me. And I'm okay with that.
I don't know why, but when I was thinking about the question myself, I went to like people that are wrestlers are like super strong people. Like I was like, I want to arm wrestle John Cena. I don't know why. Number one, John Cena seems like a lovely person in general. I've never met him, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But I just imagine if I did arm wrestle him though, I'd like to imagine that he would like let me feel like I was winning for a second. But then at the end, there's a 4,000% chance that my arm actually just rips right off. Am I right in that? He's definitely gonna rip it off there. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah. That would be fun too. Or I'm wrestling somebody like The Rock, or just somebody who's just absolutely going to destroy you. Yeah, I think that would be fun too. I'm
trying to think of like a super weak celebrity that I would win against, just so I could have bragging rights. But I don't feel like body shaming anybody, so I'm not going to do that. But in the same breath, I do feel like me and Weird Al would be a good chance to it'd be a pretty equal match. So Weird Al Yankovic, what do you think? You think I could do it?
Like, yeah. The only thing is he's a tall guy. Mm-hmm. So,
he's got some leverage.
I guess, yeah. I don't know whether that is, I'm not a physicist, so I don't know whether having long arms would be helpful or hurtful, or having shorter arms would be helpful or hurtful. But I believe in you. I think you could take him.
Any scientists out there listening today, please go ahead and do us a favor. Send us the only word I can think of is fulcrum. And I know that's not very helpful in this situation. My mind went back to like 6th grade geometry, and that's all I've got right now. So
that sounds right. That sounds right.
All right. So last one in this first date round, living or dead. Who is, if you could go to a concert with 3 bands, you got like an opener, a middle act, and a closer. Who is your 3, who are your 3 acts for and again, any time period. So man, bring the heat. What do you got?
You asked this last time, and I don't remember what I said, which I think is good.
I like to imagine that you've been pondering these since then, and you are.
Okay. So, man, this is so hard. Okay. Opener. This is like a musician's band. So there's probably a lot of people who haven't heard of them, but there's a band called Snarky Puppy, and it's like modern jazz meets kind of way out there. Okay. And if you're a musician, you're going to love it. Like if you are into that sort of weird stuff and just got great vibe and great rhythm and insane musicians that just soul all over the place. And it's really fun to watch live. So that's the opener. They bring the heat.
Are they like a super tight band?
Yes. Yeah. And they like the musicians come in and out. They sub in Solomon. They brought in Dave Matthews, saxophone player, and so they'll just sub out musicians and some of the greatest drummers and keyboard players and guitar players. My favorite guitar player of all time, Mark Lettieri, is anyway. So Snarky Puppy, they're gonna open. Now I've seen him so many times, but I could watch him every night. John Mayer, direct support.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then I can't decide if it's Coldplay or if it's Michael Jackson.
That's a tough call.
But because I still have, I have the ability to see Coldplay in real life, I'm just going to go with Michael Jackson because I never got to see him.
Now, are you there to see Michael Jackson dance, or are you there to see Michael Jackson's band? Or is it just the full experience for you?
That's a tough question. Honestly, it's the whole thing, man. The whole thing, the band, the singing, the dancing. I'm sure there's going to be explosions going on and LEDs and, there for it. I'm really there for it.
Do you remember the story of him? I think it was late 80s, early 90s. He was recording a Pepsi commercial, and one of the pyrotechnics went off at the wrong time and caught his hair on fire in the middle of a commercial shoot.
I did not hear this.
Listen, that is a YouTube
I'm gonna Google
deep dive for you later. Get on there. And absolutely get that. That's a good bet for you to really check out old Michael Jackson on fire. So it was a big deal. Like I think he sued Pepsi, or I think it was Pepsi.
You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes,
You gotta make If you get burned like that, you need some love. All right. So here's a real question. With concerts, you are in your, you're in your 30s now. Yeah.
Yes, I am. Mid 30s.
Have you reached the age now when you go to a show, you want to sit down, or are you still a stand up, get in the mix kind of guy?
I have been a sit down at a show person for 15 years. I mean, since I was 20, and I am the worst person to perform to do comedy, to sing a song, to do magic. Like, I am the worst person. On the outside, I have my arms crossed and I'm just staring. But on the inside, I'm so enthralled because I have a hard time like experiencing the moment. So I'm just like, I'm taking it all in and I'm processing and I'm going through my brain. And if it's comedy, I'm like, what's the timing on this joke and where's this joke going? And if it's music, I'm analyzing the chords and the mix and the sound and, are they using tracks? Are they not using tracks? I'm just analyzing everything. And so I'm not able to kind of fully envelop myself in the moment. But I am absolutely enjoying the heck out of myself. Yeah. It just doesn't always look like that from the outside.
Yeah. I've got a thing that it's a jealousy thing for me that I need to overcome probably, but that same thing you just described, that's kind of me to an extent. But my little brother, Aaron, wherever he is always 1000% in the moment. So like where you're the opposite person, like you got your arms crossed and you're just like letting it all wash over you. Aaron is in the moment. Like, he's the best person to go to a funny movie with, or like any of that stuff, because he's just so fully enjoying himself, where I'm kind of like you, where I'm just like, I'm like afterwards, like talking about an event I just went to, I will like chew your ear off talking, because it just took me a second to process everything. But then I'm like, yes, that was fantastic.
Yeah, totally. I was talking to a friend the other day, and like, I mean, you're a musician, when you go to a show, you can look at, what everybody's doing and what's going on, the names of the instruments and, and
I like it that your bar for a musician is knowing what the instruments are.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying is like, there are people who go to a concert and they know nothing. Yeah. They know absolutely nothing. Like, music is magic to them. Yeah. There's like, they don't know how it happens. And I envy that type of, and I don't mean this negatively, but that like naivete that comes from just like being able to fully just be surrounded by music. Yeah. And it's still magic. Like, to me, it's like, it's math, and I know what's going on, and I can hear a song and I can pick out like, if I know what key it's in, I know all the chords they're playing. And I'm like, well, this is a Strat guitar and this sounds like a Tele coming through this sort of amp and these sorts of effects. And this sounds like a P bass, and the drummer's using, really big high, I know what's going on. And so it's hard for me to fully envelop myself in a song, which I think is kind of why musicians have like that band Snarky Puppy, like they're just so otherworldly that I don't know what's going on. Yeah. And so it is kind of like, that's how I feel like some people experience music. Yeah. I really wish I could just like flip a switch in my brain and just go back to knowing nothing just for a few minutes to like experience what music really does for some people.
All right. So just for fun, this isn't on this, and I just want to know now, when was the last time that like that happened to you? Like, whether it was a movie or a TV show or music, or like, when was the last time that it was just like, what just happened?
Man, I recently got into F1 racing, and I don't watch it live. I just watch it on Netflix. Okay. So I'm always a year behind, and I am so impressed with whoever produces that show. The storytelling ability for like real life and racing is just, man, I was watching an episode the other day, and I don't want to give anything away. Have you seen it?
No, I'm not too worried about it though. You're not going to ruin it for me. Anybody listening, if you don't want F1 spoilers, don't. Just go ahead and skip 15 seconds.
Well, this was a couple years ago that it happened. So there was like this explosion, and like F1 cars don't explode supposedly. And this guy, it was a really terrible wreck, and it was like a 30-minute buildup of this guy like in this fireball of a car. I won't give away what happened, but I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, but I love a good, like, people who can tell a good story. That's when I'm just like fully in it. Yeah. And a good story, a good documentary. You can't go wrong with that. Yeah. You and I have been friends loosely for the last 10, 15 years. And, but so this is, and we're moving into the slow round again. These are the a little bit more serious. This isn't a first date anymore. This is really getting to the heart of who you are. But like we've been friends for a while, but for you, like, what does it take to be a real friend? Like if I want to be your best friend, the one that you're calling when you're in trouble, or the person that you rely on, who is that person? What makes up that person to be your best friend? It definitely takes loyalty, but I think some people mistake loyalty for just like being nice. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes somebody who's willing to have those hard conversations. Yeah. Like willing to say, hey, this is wrong. Like you're wrong. Yeah. And somebody who's not afraid to have those hard conversations with me. Somebody who is curious, somebody that can like have meaningful conversations without letting emotion kind of overcome and dominate. So like somebody who can explore different issues without letting their emotions kind of dictate how they respond. Yeah. I feel like that's a sort of friend that I can really get down, but then also somebody who can just like turn it off, be in a room with and be silent. Yeah. And it not feel awkward. That's also somebody who I could be really good friends with. People that can be honest with you, and people that, and it's not honesty to get at you, but it's honesty to make you better. Yes. You know? Mm-hmm. And just the other week, like I don't know about you, but I don't make a ton of friends very often. It's just, I think when you get a little bit older in life, sometimes it's harder to make new and great friends. Mm-hmm. But I recently, I was at a coffee shop here in town, and I was just like, hey man, I like your shoes. And this guy, he's like, I don't know what it is. I like you. Let's be friends. And like, that was like the weirdest little like cute meet ever. Nice. But since then he like, I don't know what it is, but we get along like peas and carrots. And the thing that I like about him too is like he's that easy that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Like we can hang out and have like long conversations. We can text and have short conversations, and it's an easy thing. Mm-hmm. It's not something that like I've got to put effort into. And to add one thing on to yours too, he's a super intentional friend. Mm-hmm. So we've had some tough conversations. We've had a bunch of fun conversations. But the thing that I always like is I'm not always the one starting the conversation. Mm-hmm. So we're able to interact, not fully focused based on what I've done, but he's a part of the conversation too. And so a little bit of honesty, a little bit of loyalty, a little bit of intentionality. Yeah. Those things really make a good friendship. Yeah. I'm going to steal that and add that to mine too. Somebody who can, it's so hard. I mean, like even you and I, we're talked, not counting the last podcast that we did, that's still out in the ether somewhere. We haven't talked in years, but somebody who can be like, hey, I want to be your friend, and I want to be intentional about making time to spend time with you. So yeah, I'm gonna steal yours, and hopefully your friend is listening now, and he knows how much he means to you. Yeah, it's my buddy. So, all right. I know that you are a musician. You are out and about. You've got a lot on your plate, being a band director. We didn't talk about this before, but you also own some side businesses. Mm-hmm. You and your wife, or you yourself, have started some businesses. You got that entrepreneurial edge to you. But what makes like the day, like you lay your head down in your bed and you said like, this
was a day, like what have you accomplished in that day that makes you feel like you've just done it?
I think calling guest that I'm a creator, and if there is something that wasn't in existence and now is in existence, whether that's taken me 30 minutes, whether that's taken me, 20 hours, I lay my head down and I feel accomplished.
Yeah.
But like you said, like you mentioned, during the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of touring going on.
Yeah.
And so my wife was let go from her job. Obviously I'm not playing music, so I'm not bringing any income in. And long story short, we decided to start a lawn care business, and I'm out, started with a push mower, mowing neighbors' lawns, and worked my way up to some pretty heavy duty machinery over the couple of years that we did it. And, there is something about being outside all day long, sweating your butt off, working hard, manual labor, and then coming home, your wife handing you a nice cold cruiser, and just sitting on the couch and knowing that like you put in a good hard day's work, you provided for your family, and you can be proud of it. So I'm a pretty happy guy, and there's not a whole lot of days that go by that I'm like, man, that was a crappy day. I'm pretty easy on myself that way, but
yeah,
extra good days are days when I clean or mow a bunch of lawns.
At this point, do you have PTSD from mowing yards?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We liquidated the business this year. And I'm back touring again. So it was impossible to also maintain that business. And it wasn't big enough to where we hired employees and we could keep it running. So it's just that awkward size where not too big to continue to grow, but, too big that I couldn't do it as well as touring. So we liquidated everything, and we still have like the big lawnmower, which is kind of fun to mow my yard in like 20 minutes. The thing flies and it's got a wide deck, and the neighbors are out there with their little push lawnmowers, and I'm just zipping back and forth, and it's got the like little skateboard thing on the back, and I'm just wheeling and dealing, surfing on the yard. But as soon as I sell that thing, as soon as it's gone, I hope I never have to mow another yard again in my life. I probably mowed, more than 1,000 yards in the last 2 years. Easily. That's
too many yards.
Yeah.
That is way too many yards.
Yeah, that's a lot of yards.
I hate doing my yard, much less anybody else's. So God bless you for doing all that.
Yeah.
You said earlier too that when you're mowing yards, you were sweating your butt off. You didn't have to mow the yards in like full jeans and a leather jacket. That's on you, man. You really should have like worn like a tank top and some shorts. That's your fault.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That would have been awesome though, because our niche was that we were like working musicians who were out of work.
Yeah.
And woe is us. We need to make some money. And so we had a lot of people in the music industry who would hire us to mow their yards just to help out some poor musicians. And that would have been a great selling point. We did have a news crew come out and do a story on us. And I actually took the weed eater and held it up like a guitar and was playing air guitar on it. I don't think it actually aired in the segment, but there is a picture of it, and I'll send it to you.
Okay. I can't wait to see that. Okay. All right. One last question in this round, and then we can move on from there. What do you think drives your kind of entrepreneurial spirit? You built yourself up to be a quality touring musician, which is fantastic. That's awesome. And then when the pandemic hit, you started your lawn business, and you kept making things work. And then you and your wife in this last year started making charcuterie boards. And not only making them, but teaching people how to make them and doing that kind of stuff. So what drives you? Is that just something that's always been inside you? Just like you want to keep making things and keep entrepreneuring, or like what's that for you?
I think it goes back to being and like, I never thought this way, but there can be a lot of opportunities to be creative in a business mentality, in a business environment. And whether that's in marketing, figuring out how to be profitable. And so I'm always thinking of like inventions, which are never any good, but it's, they're there, and businesses. And I'm always like my wife and I will just be driving, and I can't think of one right now, which is very anticlimactic, but I'll look over to her and I'll be like, what a great business idea would be. And I'd spout off something dumb and never do anything about it. But it's just like, I just love creating things. And that's, woodworking. I got into woodworking a few years ago, and that's such a different sort of creating, where like music is this kind of intangible thing, but woodworking is like you work with your fingers and there's something to like touch and grasp and use. And actually the studio desk that I'm at right now, like I made, and it's just, I love creating things. I love where there wasn't something and then now there is. And I have a hard time continuing those things. So like I can get them going. I've got great ideas, but then like the longevity, I don't have ADHD, but it's just like I moved to something else. So that's something I'm working on, personally, is like figuring out a way to like, all right, let's just hone in on one thing and just do that.
That's something I'm trying to learn too. Actually, this is an extension of that. Like I do love creating things, but the hardest part has been getting myself to actually like pull the trigger on things. Like I've been dreaming about doing this podcast and all of this stuff and having these conversations for so long, but the actual finishing of doing it, this is a separate conversation, but like even like the fear of like sending a text message to like somebody I haven't talked to in a few years and be like, hey, you want to talk to me publicly for a few minutes? Like it's like, there's just so much like fear and anxiety and like weird stuff that comes into actually like taking the step to do it. And so the things that you've done, like as a friend and as a fan from afar, I'm proud of you because you don't let the fear of starting stop you from actually starting. And so good job, man. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. I mean, there's a lot of things that fear has kept me from doing. And one thing that the pandemic taught me, or I guess the pandemic forced us to do a lot of things. It's like either we figure out a way to make some money or, be moving back to Florida, living with my parents, so it's like, we're almost forced into it. But one thing that I briefly mentioned earlier, I randomly got into triathlon, and you're not always in the mood to run and swim and bike. And it's a lot of things. And especially right now, it's so hot outside, but I make a deal with myself that if I'm doing a run workout, I'm like, I'll just run 1 mile, even if I have 10 miles that I'm supposed to run that day. If I just do one and I don't feel like finishing, that's fine. If I have a bike workout, if I just do a couple miles on the bike and I don't feel like finishing it, just come on back home. Same thing with swimming, I do a couple laps and as long as I just start, I will allow myself to quit early. And 99.9% of the time, I never quit.
Yeah.
And it's like making that first step is always the hardest. And so, a friend of mine recently is like, you act your way into feeling a lot of the times. And so you don't always feel like doing something, but if you just do it, eventually you will feel like doing it. And so that's kind of what I learned through the pandemic. It's just like, sometimes you just have to take that first step. And most of the time your end goal isn't going to look like what your initial vision was. Yeah.
For a few years, I did CrossFit. I know you can tell this is obviously a physique of a CrossFitter. But I did CrossFit for a few years and really enjoyed it, really loved it. But towards the end, the classes were in the morning and I am the opposite of a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl all the way. And so the class started at 6 a.m. and I had a 6-minute drive. And so I figured out if I could get my body out of the bed at 5:50, then I could like get myself in clothes and in my car with enough time to get there. Also, if you were late, they made you do burpees, and no one has time for that. You had to do a burpee for every minute you were late, and I was not feeling that. And so what started happening was like I would get myself, like I would wake up and sit up, and like I like legs off the side of the bed. But if I didn't get my butt off of the bed, I would give myself an excuse to stay in bed. So like I've realized I got to get my butt off the bed. If I can get my butt off the bed, then it's like, we'll get some inertia going from there. But butt off the bed was the tough one for me. So sometimes like starting is the tough part. And then once you get into it, there's a bunch of middle and then an end too. But that's it. Like just starting is the hardest part. And it's often physically you're well equipped to start. Like you just start, but mentally it's the hardest thing. So I've just forced myself to just like, I can do it, just start and then figure the rest out, which that's the key to business. That's the key to life. Nobody has it together. Everybody's just figuring it out. Yeah. So do your thing, start your thing. I was going to say, what would you tell 20-year-old self? But that's just the advice that you need to know when you're 20. No one's got it figured out. We're all just faking it. So, all right. So we're at our favorite part of the podcast. It's my favorite part, at least. This is a lot of fun. It is the common ground round. Are we like each other? And I switched these up so you have no idea what we're going into. Nice. No cheating. Are you ready to do this? I'm ready. All right. First question. Are you going hot or iced coffee? This is absolutely forever and always my answer. I think we're going to be opposites on this one, but here we go. 3, 2, 1. What you got? I went iced. Hot. Always, man. It's gotta be hot. That's like the point of coffee. I get it though. I get it. Iced coffee is good. It's fantastic. I'm just it's part of my routine every morning is coffee, and it just, and I think coffee for me is something that I make. I think if the question was, if you have to make it hot or iced, would it still be iced for you? So I actually do make iced coffee every day. So. Oh my God. Here's my deal. My own grave. This is your fault. And I'm going to go ahead and fully explain myself, and you can hate me if you want to. I enjoy hot coffee when I have a chance to enjoy it. Does it make sense? Also when it's not 8 billion degrees outside. But on a Saturday morning, there is absolutely nothing better than like a good cup of hot coffee. Like made pancakes for the kids and then hot coffee. That's heaven. But my thing is, I figured out a system that I take like a large iced coffee to work every day, and that's like my amazing pick me up. So like there's no loss in temperature or anything, and I've got my iced coffee. It's fantastic. So yeah, I get it. I mean, I have a day, but I think if I had to just like get up and go every morning, having to worry about like lukewarm coffee. Like if you roll into work and you haven't had a sip of your coffee, you're like, oh, okay, good coffee. And you go to drink it and it's lukewarm. There's nothing worse than that. Yeah. Who wants that? No one wants that. All right. You ready for round 2? Yep. All right. When it comes time for dinner, would you rather be the one cooking or being cooked for? Okay. I don't know if I have a solid answer for this one either. I'm going to go first one that comes to your mind. All right, ready? Yep. 3, 2, 1. I'm cooking. I'm cooking too. Yeah. Nice. What is your go-to meal? Win. What are you making? We started doing HelloFresh this year. Okay. It's the kind of like pre-made meal kits or whatever, but it's fun. You're still dicing all the vegetables, and they're teaching you cooking techniques. And again, it goes back to that thing of like creating for me. It's like cooking is another art form, and before you started, there wasn't an edible meal. And after you finish, there's an edible meal. And we're not like me and my wife, we're not like a tit for tat sort of relationship where like I cook, you clean, that sort of thing. But it typically is, if I cook, she's more than happy to clean. And I really hate cleaning. Oh, no. Yeah. Ready for question number 3? I am ready. All right. If you could live in the city or the country, side, the countryside. Which way are you going? You going city or country? I believe in you.
Man, it is an impossible question.
It's not an impossible question because I already answered it because I'm a genius.
All right. Okay. I'm ready.
You ready? 3, 2, 1. I went city. What'd you go?
I went city.
City. Yeah. Do you have any city in mind?
I love Nashville. I would also love to be a little bit closer to the water.
Okay.
That being like, the ocean, not just any water. Okay. But I don't have one. Oh yeah. You mind. Surf too. Used to. Okay. I mean, who knows if I still can.
Well, listen, you might be a little rusty, but I believe in you. You could do it.
I don't know if it's like riding a bike or not. Yeah. But I think the city, there's just more to do. I think I might get bored if I just lived on a farm.
Yeah. Yeah. I would absolutely get bored too. So get them next time. All right. Yeah. We got 2 more. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. On a date night with your wife,
yes,
Jessica, did she prefer Jessica or Jess?
Either. I call her Jess, but she would be flattered if you said Jessica. She will murder you if you say Jessie. So just, when you meet her in person.
I'm happy that I waited because I was literally about to ask that. So, all right. If you're on a date with Jessica or Jess, not Jessie, would you rather go to a musical, so a play with some music in it? It could be any play or musical, or a comedy show, stand up or otherwise, improv. The world is your oyster.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Comedy?
I said musical.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know.
What musical are you going to?
Any of them? The good ones. I don't know. It's just with the music.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I love stand up. I think it's an incredible art form. But a musical just has more art form. It has comedy, it has acting, it has music. So I think there's just more to it.
Do you have a favorite musical?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I have definitely seen more stand up than I have seen a musical. But just because it's just easier, easier access to stand up than it is a musical, unless you lived in New York or something.
Yeah. It's been a few years now. We saw the touring company of Hamilton, and that was ridiculous. Yeah. Those people are so stupid talented.
That's what I would have said when you asked me but I've never seen it. And, but that's, everybody agrees that's like the best musical of all time.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I don't know about all time. You might have some theater nerds out there like, excuse me, sir, Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote the best musicals of all time.
Les Miserables.
But I don't. Less miserables. But I'm not going to fight you on it. So I'm happy that you figured it out. So, all right, last one. And then we did it. We finally made it through this podcast. Hopefully the world gets to hear this one this time. But, when it comes to, Mexican food, are you going guacamole or salsa?
Okay.
Going guacamole
like
or
with
salsa.
With chips or on something? With chips?
Yeah. This is a chip situation. All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1. I went guac.
Yeah.
Salsa.
I'm probably like a very small percentage of people that prefers salsa over guacamole. It's good. It's good. I like guac. Tastes great. But I think there's more variety in salsa. You can have kind of fruity, spicy salsa, medium, mild salsa. Everybody's salsa is different. It doesn't fill you up the way that guacamole does. And guacamole mostly tastes like guacamole. It's
a fantastic thing, though. My deal with all of it is just don't put any cilantro in it. I'm one of those people that cilantro tastes like soap. Yeah. And that's a deal breaker for me. So
it doesn't, I don't love it. I'm not a cilantro guy. If it's on there, I'm not going to pick it out, but doesn't do anything for me. Same thing with lettuce on burgers. Like what's it doing in there? Get out. If you want to,
I actually really enjoy a good lettuce, a little crisp in the middle there.
Burger, put some potato chips on there. I'll die
This
on
has
that
gone
hill.
to heights I wasn't expecting today. I'm here for it though. All right. So Lance, thank you again so much for being here and doing this. Maybe today there's people that had never heard of you before or had never heard the music you play. If there's people that want to follow you on the internet or maybe try to get to know you a little bit better, where's a good place for them to follow you? Really,
the only place is on Instagram, and that's at Lance Herring. Lance like Lance Armstrong, herring like the fish. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, but
I really enjoy hearing how people explain their names. Yeah, you're not. Mike's pretty easy, but then I'm like Burns, like fire. Yeah. So that usually gets people on the same page. But yeah, you can follow him at Lance Herring. And then you got any music dates coming up? You going on tour this summer or fall? Yeah, we're opening for Brad Paisley this summer. That's fun.
So that should be fun. We just got off tour with Darius Rucker.
Okay. Young Hootie.
The lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah.
Did his own country thing, Darius Rucker. And Brad Paisley. Should be fun. I don't know where we're going. I don't know where we go until I'm, going there. I'm very bad about that.
That's why you're the music director, not the tour manager. So
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Again, Lance, thank you so much for being here, man. Even if it was the second time, thanks for being our first repeat guest. And for all of you listening, thanks for joining us here at Maybe You're Like Me. Be sure to subscribe and leave a good review wherever you're listening. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great week. We will see you back here next week on Maybe You're Like Me.